The history of Leonardo da Vinci. Discover the hidden side of Leonardo da Vinci, beyond his famous paintings. In this brief journey, we will reveal the surprising inventions and scientific studies of this Renaissance genius. From advanced machines to human anatomy, join us as we explore the secrets of one of history's greatest innovators. Chapter 1. Childhood in Vinci. The story of Leonardo da Vinci begins in 1452, in the small town of Vinci, in Italian Tuscany. The illegitimate son of a Florentine notary and a peasant woman, his birth did not promise the greatness he would later achieve. However, the rural setting of Vinci offered an idyllic stage for a young Leonardo, whose curiosity about the surrounding world was insatiable. Surrounded by hills, rivers, and diverse flora and fauna, the young Leonardo found in nature an inexhaustible source of inspiration and knowledge. From an early age, Leonardo showed an exceptional talent for art and a profound interest in both natural and man-made mechanisms and structures. His early years were marked by the exploration of his environment, where each element served as a potential lesson on the complexities of the world. This formative phase was crucial in developing his observational skills, which would later be reflected in his detailed artworks and meticulous scientific studies. In this rural environment, Leonardo received a basic education in reading, writing, and arithmetic, but it was his self-taught training that truly shaped his path. His family recognized his artistic talent early on, which was decisive for his future. Despite his illegitimate origin, Leonardo was accepted into his father's home, providing him with some stability and access to resources that would have otherwise been unattainable. Leonardo's childhood in Vinci was not only the beginning of his long and distinguished career but also the foundation of his holistic approach to learning and creativity. His love for nature, combined with his fascination with mechanics, formed the basis of what would be a life dedicated to the tireless exploration of various disciplines. Chapter 2. Apprenticeship in Florence. In 1466, a young Leonardo da Vinci, just 14 years old, entered the vibrant world of Renaissance art by becoming an apprentice in the prestigious workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. This step marked a significant turn in his life, taking him from the quiet Tuscan countryside to the bustling and culturally rich city of Florence, the epicenter of the Italian Renaissance. Under the tutelage of Verrocchio, a master in multiple disciplines, Leonardo expanded his artistic skills and deepened his knowledge in various fields. Verrocchio's workshop was a hive of activity and creativity, where artists of different specialties worked together, exchanging ideas and techniques. In this stimulating environment, Leonardo immersed himself in the study of painting, sculpture, metallurgy, and mechanical engineering. His training was comprehensive, learning not only the art of painting and sculpture but also aspects of chemistry related to the preparation of paints and metal casting. This interdisciplinary experience was crucial in developing his analytical skills and innovative approach. During his time in the workshop, Leonardo had the opportunity to collaborate with and learn from other prominent artists of the period, such as Botticelli and Perugino. This collaborative experience enriched his understanding of art and expanded his stylistic perspective. It is said that Leonardo's talent was so impressive that Verrocchio, after seeing one of his works, decided never to paint again, although this is probably more of a legend than reality. Leonardo's apprenticeship with Verrocchio was not only fundamental to his formation as an artist but also consolidated his reputation in the flourishing Florentine artistic scene. During this period, his style began to emerge, a combination of meticulous observation, detailed representation, and a sense of composition and form that would challenge and transform the artistic landscape of the time. This was a time of experimentation and growth, where Leonardo began to forge his path as one of the greatest artists and thinkers in history. Chapter 3. Early Works and Experiments. After his training with Andrea del Verrocchio, Leonardo da Vinci began to establish himself as an independent artist in Florence. During this period, he started to create some of his early masterpieces, revealing his unique ability to capture both the complexity of human nature and the natural world. Works from this period, like The Annunciation and The Baptism of Christ, demonstrate a mastery of technique and depth of expression that would soon make him a renowned artist. These paintings show his meticulous attention to detail, his understanding of human anatomy, and his skill in portraying light and shadow, characteristics that would become hallmarks of his work. Simultaneously, Leonardo developed a growing interest in the field of anatomy. He began to perform dissections of human bodies, a bold and unconventional effort for the time, to better understand the mechanics of the human body. These studies were meticulously recorded in his notebooks, filled with detailed drawings that show his profound understanding of human anatomy. These investigations not only informed his art, endowing it with unprecedented realism, but also contributed significantly to the field of anatomy. Furthermore, Leonardo immersed himself in experiments in fields as diverse as engineering, optics, hydraulics, and aerodynamics. This stage of his life marked the beginning of the creation of his famous sketchbooks, where he accurately recorded his observations and ideas. These notebooks, ranging from inventions and scientific theories to studies of birds in flight and designs for war machines, are a testament to his tirelessly inquisitive mind and his interdisciplinary approach to knowledge. The combination of his art and scientific investigations during this period established Leonardo as much more than an artist. He was becoming a true Renaissance man, a title that implied mastery in multiple disciplines. His ability to fuse art with science and his relentless curiosity about the world around him defined his work during this era and laid the groundwork for his future explorations and discoveries. Chapter 4: The Last Supper and its Impact. In 1495, Leonardo da Vinci received the commission to paint The Last Supper for the refectory of the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan. This project would become one of the most revolutionary and well-studied works in the history of art. Leonardo approached this monumental task with a novel approach. Instead of using the traditional fresco technique, he opted for an experimental technique that allowed him to modify the work during the process. Although this decision eventually compromised the durability of the painting, it provided him with the flexibility needed to capture the emotional and psychological complexity of the moment. The Last Supper represents the moment when Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him, a moment of intense emotion and human dynamics. Leonardo broke with the conventions of the time, portraying the disciples with realistic expressions of surprise, dismay, and curiosity. This work stands out for its balanced composition and masterful use of perspective, directing the gaze towards the central figure of Jesus. The arrangement of the figures and the play of light and shadow create a scene that is both dynamic and harmonious, capturing the essence of the moment with unprecedented vividness. Leonardo's innovative technique and focus on psychological representation marked a turning point in the history of art. The Last Supper demonstrated his artistic mastery and exemplified his humanist approach and his profound interest in the human condition. The work captures a key moment in the biblical narrative with realism and emotional depth that had not been seen before. The impact of The Last Supper on Western art and culture has been immense. The work has been the subject of admiration, study, and analysis for centuries and has influenced countless artists. Despite the challenges in its preservation due to Leonardo's experimental technique, it remains a masterpiece that continues to fascinate and inspire. Its legacy extends beyond art, being a symbol of innovation, emotional expression, and artistic genius. Chapter 5: Stay in Milan. Leonardo da Vinci's stay in Milan, which began in 1482 and lasted almost 2 decades, marked one of the most productive and diversified phases of his career. Invited to the court of Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan, Leonardo immersed himself in an atmosphere of artistic patronage and intellectual experimentation. In Milan, he not only dedicated himself to the creation of sublime works of art but also embarked on ambitious projects in engineering, architecture, and urban design. During this period, He created some of his most famous works, like The Virgin of the Rocks and the unfinished mural, The Battle of Anghiari. In the court of Sforza, Leonardo found an environment that valued and encouraged his versatility. It was here that he began to explore his interests in engineering and architecture in depth. He worked on numerous projects, from designing fortifications to conceiving canal systems to improve Milan's irrigation and navigation networks. His designs and models for war machines, drawbridges, and other mechanical devices show his ability to apply scientific principles to practical problems, although many of these designs were never built. In addition to his work in engineering and architecture, Leonardo also dedicated himself to anatomical and botanical studies during his stay in Milan. He continued with his dissections, perfecting his drawing techniques and deepening his understanding of the human body. His detailed anatomical studies from this time not only enriched his art, allowing him to represent human figures with unprecedented accuracy and realism, but also advanced the medical knowledge of the time. Leonardo's influence in Milan was profound and lasting. His presence in the court of Sforza and his diversified work strengthened his reputation as one of the greatest geniuses of his time. His ability to combine art, science, and technology so effectively and creatively solidified his place in history as a true Renaissance man, a legacy that extends far beyond his works and continues to aspire to this day. Chapter 6: Anatomical Studies. Throughout his life, Leonardo da Vinci developed a deep and persistent fascination with the study of human anatomy. This interest, which intensified during his stay in Milan, was driven by his desire to better understand the human body, not only to improve his art but also out of genuine scientific curiosity. Leonardo conducted numerous dissections of human cadavers, an uncommon and, in many ways, controversial practice for his time. These anatomical studies allowed him to explore in depth the structure and function of human organs, muscles, and the skeletal system. Leonardo's anatomical drawings are a testament to his ability to combine precise scientific observation with exceptional artistic skill. These drawings not only show meticulous details of various parts of the human body but also illustrate with great accuracy the internal workings of these. His holistic approach and attention to detail led to significant discoveries. For example, he was one of the first to accurately describe the human heart as a muscle and to understand its function as a pump in the circulatory system. Moreover, Leonardo showed a notable interest in understanding how emotions were expressed through the physiology of the human body. In his notebooks, he explored the relationship between gestures and feelings, studying how facial muscles control expressions. These investigations not only enriched his representation of human figures in his artworks, endowing them with unprecedented realism and expressiveness, but also anticipated future studies in the fields of physiology and psychology. Leonardo da Vinci's anatomical studies were ahead of their time. Although many of his findings were not fully known or recognized until centuries later, his approach and methodology were extraordinarily modern. His drawings and anatomical notes continue to be studied and admired for their precision and beauty, highlighting his contribution not only to art but also to the fields of medicine and science. Chapter 7: Innovative Inventions and Designs. Leonardo da Vinci was a visionary whose imagination exceeded the limits of his time, as clearly evidenced in his numerous inventions and designs. His inquisitive mind and understanding of science and mechanics led him to conceive ideas that were incredibly advanced for his era. Among his most revolutionary sketches and ideas are designs for a parachute, a helicopter, and a tank, all conceived centuries before technology could make them a reality. These designs not only show his skill in engineering and mechanics, but also his ability to be ahead of his time. Leonardo's parachute design, for example, featured a pyramidal structure that, according to him, would allow any man to throw himself from any height without suffering any injury. Although it was never built or tested in his time, the fundamental concept was solid and prefigured parachute designs that would be developed much later. His aerial screw, a precursor to the modern helicopter, demonstrated his understanding of flight principles and his interest in aerodynamics. Although impractical with the technology of his era, the design reflected a surprisingly modern understanding of propulsion and lift principles. Leonardo's tank, equipped with cannons and moved by men, was another example of his ability to be ahead of his time. This design showed not only his skill in engineering but also his understanding of military strategy and weaponry technology. Although many of his inventions were too advanced to be built with the technology of his era, these sketches and ideas provide a window into the mind of a genius who was constantly exploring and imagining possibilities beyond the limits of his time. In addition to these more well-known inventions, Leonardo designed various machines and devices in his notebooks, from portable bridges to precision instruments. His designs spanned a wide range of fields, including civil, military, mechanical, and even aeronautical engineering. Although many of his inventions never progressed beyond the design stage, his legacy as an inventor lies in his extraordinary ability to merge science, technology, and creativity, prefiguring many of the advancements that would occur in the centuries to follow. Chapter 8. Return to Florence and the Battle of Anghiari. After his significant stay in Milan, Leonardo da Vinci returned to Florence in 1503, a city that had undergone numerous political and cultural changes during his absence. In this period, Leonardo was commissioned to paint a mural in the Palazzo Vecchio, which would depict the famous Battle of Anghiari, a military confrontation between several Italian city-states in 1440. This project was to decorate the Hall of the Great Council, a public space of great importance, and it became an artistic competition, as Michelangelo was also contracted to paint an opposing wall in the same room. Leonardo's approach to the Battle of Anghiari was extraordinary in its intensity and dynamism. He conceived a scene of fierce fighting, full of movement and emotion, capturing the brutality and chaos of combat. His preparatory studies for the mural show his skill in representing human figures in complex and expressive actions and his intention to capture not only the physical battle but also the psychological drama. Although only copies and sketches of the original work exist, these studies indicate the level of innovation and mastery that Leonardo was applying to the project. Unfortunately, the experimental technique that Leonardo chose for the mural, similar to the one he had used in The Last Supper, led to conservation problems almost from the outset. The painting began to deteriorate during the very process of creation, and as a result, the mural was never completed. However, the impact of the work was significant. Contemporary and later artists visited the site to study Leonardo's innovative methods and his approach to movement and expression in painting. Despite its unfinished state and the eventual disappearance of the original mural, the Battle of Anghiari has remained in cultural memory as an example of Leonardo's artistic ambition and technical innovation. Although what remains of it are mainly studies and copies made by other artists, the project reflects Leonardo's eternal quest to push the boundaries of the artistic medium and his tireless dedication to the exploration of new ideas and techniques in his art. Chapter 9. The Last Years in France. In the last years of his life, Leonardo da Vinci left Italy to settle in France, under the invitation and patronage of Francis I, a monarch known for his great admiration for artists and scholars. Leonardo moved to the town of Amboise in 1516, where he received a generous residence at Clos-Lucé, near the royal castle. This change signified not only a new environment for Leonardo but also an opportunity to continue with his various artistic and scientific projects in an atmosphere of appreciation and respect for his genius and experience. During this period in France, Leonardo continued working on various works and studies, although his rate of production slowed due to his advanced age and increasing weakness in his right hand. Despite these limitations, he did not cease in his intellectual and creative curiosity, dedicating himself to planning projects, advising on artistic and scientific matters in the court of Francis I, and perfecting previous works. One of the most notable projects of this period was the continuation of work on his famous painting, the Mona Lisa, which he had brought with him from Italy. At Clos-Lucé, Leonardo also dedicated himself to organizing and revising his notebooks and drawings. These notebooks, covering a wide range of topics from anatomy to engineering and art, are an invaluable legacy that provides a detailed insight into his thought process and creativity. The tranquility and support he found in Amboise allowed him to reflect on his decades of achievements and innovations and to continue his investigations and experiments in various disciplines. Leonardo da Vinci died on May 2, 1519, at Clos-Lucé, leaving behind a monumental legacy that spans art, science, engineering, and philosophy. His time in France not only marked the end of an extraordinary era of creativity and innovation but also solidified his reputation as one of the greatest geniuses of mankind. The depth and diversity of his work, along with his tireless pursuit of knowledge and his holistic approach to understanding the world, continue to inspire and impact countless fields to this day. Chapter 10: The Immortal Legacy. The legacy of Leonardo da Vinci is vast and multidimensional, encompassing much more than his incomparable artistic talent. Through his masterpieces, such as the Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, and The Virgin of the Rocks, Leonardo revolutionized the world of art, introducing innovative techniques and a psychological depth previously unknown. These works not only demonstrate his technical mastery and detailed approach, but also his ability to capture the complexity of the human experience. Additionally, his meticulous work in anatomical studies, engineering sketches, and futuristic designs, many of which were centuries ahead of their time, has influenced numerous disciplines, from medicine to engineering and aeronautics. Leonardo da Vinci was a pioneer of the interdisciplinary approach to learning and research. His insatiable curiosity and relentless desire to understand the world around him led him to explore an astonishing variety of fields. From anatomy and physiology to hydraulics, optics, and botany, there was no area of knowledge that he did not touch with his genius. In his notebooks, a deeply reflective and analytical thinker is revealed, whose observations and conclusions remain relevant in the 21st century. Beyond his tangible contributions in the form of art and scientific discoveries, Leonardo's legacy includes a philosophical approach to life and knowledge. He embodied the ideal of the Renaissance man, a person whose interests and abilities span a wide range of human and scientific disciplines. His life is an example of how incessant curiosity, combined with the ability to observe and reflect on the world, can lead to extraordinary discoveries and creations. The influence of Leonardo da Vinci endures not only in the works he left behind, but also in the mindset he represented. His legacy encourages us to seek beauty and truth, to intertwine art with science, and to approach the world with perpetual curiosity and wonder. In a world that often seems divided between the disciplines of the arts and sciences, Leonardo da Vinci stands as a symbol of the union of these spheres, demonstrating that true genius lies in the ability to explore, understand, and create across the multiple facets of human experience.